Bret Lockett, I am so excited to be speaking with you today. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I am so grateful for you.
Are you kidding me? I've been holding my breath all week to come on here and speak to you. There's so much that I'm interested in, and I can't wait to learn more about you. But thanks for having me. This is fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I'm so flattered. You have no idea. You have no idea. So we have a lot to talk about. And I get so excited speaking with professional athletes because you said you did your homework on me. As a retired U.S. national and international figure skating coach, I know what it takes to become an elite athlete. However, like, you took it to a whole nother degree, right? So from high school, amazing high school player, obviously, because then you went on to be, a successful defensive back from UCLA. Oh, I hope I didn't just mess that one up.
Yeah. No. Yeah, straight into UCLA. Yeah.
Yeah, UCLA. Yeah, I know. I was like, I have my notes here, but I do little bullet points. But then you went on to get drafted, and you played with the New York Patriots, or the New England Patriots, and then the New York Jets. Like, that's incredible. That is incredible. And as you know, no matter how talented an athlete is, right? Because you've got natural athletes, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan. But even though they were so talented, they still had to have that mindset to get them to that level. What do you think the driving force was for you that was behind your successful football career?
Such a great and unique question. And I feel like everybody wants to know the secret sauce, right? It's like, what was it for you, right? Was it a little bit of salt, a little bit of oregano? Like, what was it, right? And, when I look back in my life and I look back at, and I kind of look at where I am today, a lot of what drove me was the need to be enough, the need to be enough for myself. And part of that was to prove other people that I was enough, right? And the whole time it was like I felt like I was the underdog, proving it to other people that I was enough. I could do it. I can, I could get to where I wanted to get to. But really, when I look at it now, it was really this fight against myself, proving that I could get to where it was that I wanted to be. And, I feel like most people are fighting the battle of, am I enough to be, to have, to do whatever it is that we're out here trying to do, right? And it almost took me, I just had my 36th birthday, and it almost took me, I'd say like 10 years to really get that after playing football. It was like, I had this insatiable appetite to win. And, I did have all these kind of, innate qualities that, just to be a natural born leader. I think everyone can be a leader, but I think certain people are born to lead. I think there's just certain genetics in their code that allow them to go out and be the leader and be a competitor. And that was always kind of innate in me. But I had this, I was bullied as a kid, really starting in like sixth grade, and it went all the way into college. And, when you are constantly trying to fit into society, and you have this urge to, knowing you want more, knowing you can give more and be more, you look for an outlet to show people like, I can do this, like I'm better than you, kind of thing. And that was sports for me. It was always sports, and it ended up being football for me.
Wow. I think that most people can definitely relate to that, because I know I never felt like I fit in the world as a kid. And, maybe it was because, my brother died when I was 12 years old, 2 weeks before my 13th birthday. And nobody really talked about it. Like, I remember it wasn't even until like last year when I was promoting my book, when it came out. And it dawned on me that, like, nowadays, if a child has that experience, when you go back to school, the guidance counselors pull you in, the teachers, what can we do? How can we support you? Like, when I went back to school, nobody said a word to me. And it didn't I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So it never bothered me, but I have to question and ask myself, is that why? I mean, I'm not like that today, but for many, many years, I was like that, where I just didn't feel, and I just felt so different from other people. And yeah, that, for me, you said, you talked about not being enough. For me, it was really, not feeling like I belonged, and I was constantly comparing myself to other people, and wanting to be like others. And but that's
Yeah,
really,
and that's part of that's part of the difficulty. I know, this is happiness solved, and part of finding happiness is understanding that you already fit into the world because you're here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? And the fact that you're not in a certain group, or you're a part of a certain class or whatnot, doesn't mean that you don't belong, right? I think the rub is that everybody wants to fit in, where really everybody should be looking to be unique and be themselves, right? And that's why I think a lot of us somewhat envy, and I know at times I do, I envy certain people that can just be them. Like, I'm like, that guy or that girl is so authentically them. And she just wears that on her sleeve. And I was like, I wish I can do that a little bit more, right? And not care what the next person to the right or left of me, thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a friend of mine said to me back in the early 90s, she was like, Sandee, what other people think of you is none of your business. And that is something that it resonated so deeply with me. And our mind is always going to be, it's that fight or flight, that our mind goes to places you don't want it to go to. And if that ever comes up, I think of that right away, and it helps me to, instantly snap out of it.
Yeah. That's a great, yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, so right now, and it doesn't matter for the purposes of this recording, your camera has shut off, but it's okay.
Does it shut off?
Now you're back on. It's just the internet. No worries, no worries at all.
Okay.
I only use this for my YouTube channel, so it's all good. So after NFL, and I was doing a lot of research on you, and it looked like you were injured. Is that what ended your NFL career? It was an injury, and if so, what was that? Because I couldn't even find that.
Yeah. So I guess if I can explain a little bit about how football, the dynamics of the business of football. So football is the only sport that doesn't have a guaranteed contract. So it doesn't matter if the team signs you for 3 years or 4 years, they can cut you at any point, right? And so it's very unstable. And so for me, I was injured 3 years in a row. Tore my groin my first year. Second year, I tore my pec, and then my third year, I tore my groin again. And so I didn't play for 3 years, and then I went on this journeyman's mission of trying to get back to the NFL, which was a whole kind of pursuit in itself, right? Talk about the pursuit of happiness. That was like the pursuit of everything in my life, right? I think that was like, that defined my 20s, if you will. But I ended up getting back to the NFL and signing with the Jets, but I did not make the team. So they let me go right during training camp, right after middle of preseason, and I've gone for about a year and a half without really making any money, and still paying for training and food and all of these expenses that an athlete needs to be able to play at that level. And I was just like, what, I don't want to do this for another year. One, and two, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make it another year doing this. So at that point, for me, it was, Bret, did you prove to yourself that did you prove to yourself the things you wanted to prove, while you were in the NFL? And for me, it was like, yes, I did to myself. Could I have taken it a bit further? I could have, but at that point, once you've been hurt that many times, and your body's aching, and it's time to hang it up, And for me, I felt it was time to go on into the next thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is it's the toughest one of the toughest sports, especially when you're a defensive back and you're out there tackling people. I mean, that's just so hard on your body. So,
It is.
yeah.
It is. I don't know how the heck I did it for that long, but I did.
Yeah. So, how did your success as an NFL player help you translate into the business world? Because I see you've been a serial entrepreneur. You've got so many things going in your life. How has that success helped you translate? Because I know I have a lot of entrepreneurs and business leaders that listen to the podcast, and I like to, the mindset as an athlete translates into everything in your life. So how do you think that helped you with your success as a business owner and entrepreneur?
It's almost twofold, because when you say success, I think there's a part of success that's just pure stupidity. And when I say that, I mean the fact that I can jump in. I feel like I can jump into anything because I've been successful at such a high level in sports, right? And so part of that was like, okay, I'm gonna, I have an interest in business. I have an interest in doing some things outside of playing football. And so I started pursuing those while I was playing. And, I would, I invested in some companies as an angel investor, and companies didn't do so well. And so you learn very quickly, you're like, okay, so it's not as easy as you think, right? Just because you're successful in football doesn't necessarily mean you'll be successful in other things. And I think when you look at, specifically people who have had success in other arenas and they're starting something new, the reason why they usually don't have success in the new venture is because they're not willing to start from ground zero.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of giggling when you were saying that, because I started an IT recruiting company and was hugely successful. And back in 2001, the .com industry, you were in high school at that time, I believe, or maybe just getting out of high school. But the whole .com industry just exploded and blew up, and everything was gone, and thousands of companies went out of business and layoffs and all of that. And my business, I was able to hold on to it for about a year, and then ended up just closing up shop. But it's interesting that you talked about, getting the education, because I never finished my college degree. And when I ended up finishing it just a few years ago, I learned so much that I thought, wow, I wish I knew this when I had my company because I got my bachelor's in business management and I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew this. And again, for me, I call it like I'm overly confident, especially when it comes to athletics. I'm obsessed with playing tennis. I mean, you would think that I'm out there training for Wimbledon because, I just have this confidence that's, um, but I think that that's in my business too. Like I'm very confident, and yeah, so it's kind of no. Oh, right. Yeah, exactly. And I just interviewed somebody last week. The episode won't be released for a little bit, but we had a whole conversation on confidence, and he believes that confidence is a skill that you can learn. And I know I do work with some elite athletes as their sports psychology coach, and that's one of the things that I have to really work with some of these kids with is helping them boost their confidence in their athletics. Right. Right. Exactly. So I want to ask you a question that I love to ask. I don't ask it to everybody, but I love to ask this. And I feel like I have to ask you, what advice would you give your younger self? Yeah. 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 That's great advice. That's really, really great advice. Now we're going to talk, I want to talk about your nonprofit that we discussed before we started recording. But first, for any listeners out there that are considering becoming an entrepreneur, starting a business, what advice would you give them? Mm, hmm. Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Very, very difficult. And it's very difficult to keep your momentum going. Oh, yeah, for sure. Or life, or life. So it was really interesting before we started recording, and you were telling me about the nonprofit that you're now sitting on the board. And it's so funny because we have so many synchronicities. And so you're on the board of SLAY Legal Aid, which is legal services for families and individuals needing legal services. And I think that's incredible because that's a big problem for many, many, many people. Yeah. Oh, wow. Mm. Hmm. Yeah. Mhm. Mm. I love that because there's just so many people that need assistance, on both sides of the card, people who, may have, been stupid, you know, everybody makes mistakes. I believe everybody deserves a second chance in life. And, but yeah, there's just so many people that it needed. So I know she's just getting it going. Do you have a website built out yet? Or is that stay tuned? Hmm. Okay. All right. We'll put that in the show notes and then people can find it there. That's great. So we're almost out of time. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience that you haven't talked about today so far? Sure. Yeah, what do you do for happiness? You know, what's your go-to to help you get back to that place? Mm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mhm. Right. Very well said. Yes. Yes. Mm. Yeah. Mhm. Right. Exactly. And, you know, I mean, happiness is a journey, it's not a destination. And I love that you said, you know, realizing that things happen for you, they don't happen to you, they happen for you. And that is so, when people can get that, and I know that if for anybody out there listening, if you're going through something really tragic and horrible, first of all, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. However, you know, things will pass and they will always get easier. And you, if you allow them to flow. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it is. Right. Yeah. It does. And I learned just actually in the past couple of years that in order to grow, this is one of my quotes I say all the time, in order to grow, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that is the hardest place to be because it's so uncomfortable, but nothing happens in life without, you know, pushing yourself and especially when it comes to our mindset. You know, it stinks to be uncomfortable. It's yeah, that's right. Okay. Mhm. Right. Oh, beautifully said. You have so much wisdom. This has been such an amazing conversation. And thank you for being here, for showing up, for doing everything that you do. I'm so grateful for you. And I know that the listeners are too, Bret. Thank you so, so much. Oh, thank you. See, you're just flattering me. And I'm like, ah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening today.